This is Access Ann Arbor.
Hi, my name's Anna Walsh, and I'm here to interview my friend Laurel Federbush, who just wrote a book called No Matter, How It's Literally Just a Dream. Laurel is a concert harpist who earned a Doctor of Musical Arts degree from the University of Michigan. And the back of the book quotes that she's the daughter of a mathematical physicist, and she inherited no aptitude for math or physics, but she likes to daydream. So I thought that's really nice for a book about dreams. So anyway, that's kind of the humor that runs through the book. It's very down to earth, very easy to understand, but it's a pretty deep subject that she's talking about here. Wouldn't you say it's a pretty deep book? Deep, kind of talks about,
I don't know if
goes
it's
deep.
It's trying to figure out how things work and the
Yes.
nature of reality. But
Yeah, and you did that with your last book too. It was a kind of a how things work, and it not necessarily flies in the face of conventional science, but it still makes perfect sense. And it seems like that's what you're really good at.
oh, thanks.
And this book is really a testament to that as well. So, how did you decide to write this book? It's something.
Well, once I get an idea that I feel strongly about, I tend to want to write about it. And lately, I've been churning out these books, and it's very easy to write books these days. You can self-publish pretty easily. So I've done these books, and they're all pretty short. And this is my latest one. I feel. I guess I was thinking a lot about. I've been studying about evolution and sort of the holes in the evolutionary theory, and I think there are a lot of scientists who don't believe in the theory of evolution, and they do a really good job in poking holes in it, figuring out where the flaws are, but where I think they go wrong is they haven't come up with an alternate theory that makes sense. Like the scientists who don't believe in evolution tend to believe in the literal theory of the Bible, like the literal creation story, and I guess I don't find that a plausible thing, and so I was thinking, are there any other possibilities for just how we got here? Like, so it seems like it's either evolution or creationism, but people haven't thought of any other possible theories for why we're here, how we're here. There's some theories about aliens, and I'm not really into that. So one thing that occurred to me is that this could just be a dream, and I know that's not my original idea. There have been versions of that theory throughout history. Like one of my friends, who is part Native American, or maybe all Native American, said that Native Americans have this idea, or at least maybe his tribe, that when we're alive, we're dreaming, and then I guess at death you wake up from the dream. I guess I'm not sure if I believe that you ever really wake up, but that's one of the theories of the Native Americans had that theory, and Taoism, which is another thing I've been interested in lately. Zhuangzi, the great Taoist philosopher from thousands of years ago, had this idea: how do we are you a man dreaming about a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming about a man? How would you know the difference? And even though I'm not sure exactly why I got interested in Taoism and this idea about the same time, but I'm not sure if it was really related to that or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no way to prove a lot of these things.
Right.
That's the thing that really gets our imaginations going, because you can't. The science is wonderful and can point in the right direction, but still, there's no way. You can't really argue with, because nobody was there. and nobody knows for sure. And you know, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
And then another thing that sort of had occurred to me was that biblical creationism and evolution, even though they seem like they'd be complete opposites, in a way they're very similar because they both have the idea that things started at one point and developed and got more complicated until we're where we are now. And I guess with my idea that things are basically just a dream, I'm not so sure that we have to make that assumption that things started at one point and got more complicated systematically and developed. I mean, if things are just a dream, it's pretty much, you know, that's the way it is.
You can start from
It's always,
anywhere.
right, yeah.
It's
there
a
isn't
linear,
really a beginning. There's
linear thinking.
Right, yeah.
Linear thinking. And,
Yeah.
and like Carl Jung talks about, you reference him in the back of your book,
Right.
talks about the fact that that's not necessarily so, and it kind of reminds me of a book I read a long time ago by Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-Five, where the guy was jumping all over.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was a
Wild
good book.
book.
Yeah. But, yeah. So was this, is this something that you came up with subsequent to your last book? Your last book, you
Yeah.
were exploring a lot of ideas, and so did that springboard you to kind of
guess-
consider some of these ideas? That's what it sounded like you were saying, but I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
I tend to be, at least in some of my moods, I go through different moods, but sometimes I get really into conspiracy theories or just the idea that things aren't really the way they seem to be. I think a lot of people feel that way in their lives. They might not necessarily go into conspiracy theories, but a lot of people probably just have some feeling that things just aren't what they seem, or what I've been told about the world or about life just doesn't seem to be quite true. And that's why you have movies like The Matrix and
I
things
was
like
just
that
thinking,
that are
yeah.
very popular. And I think a lot of people have that feeling, and so like I tend to go into that. And some of the conspiracy theory type things they go into, you know, sometimes I lose interest in them, or they don't go very far. And a lot of conspiracy theories, unfortunately, have anti-Semitic leanings. Like often, if you read it, even some of my things I looked up for this book, one or two of the videos ended up having things in them that were anti-Semitic, or somehow, you know, this idea of Jews controlling everything is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's what made
and
me.
I'm Jewish, so you know,
Right.
of course I can't.
That's actually
go
what,
along with that, so.
when I was preparing for this,
Yeah.
I was sort of wondering too, oh, maybe this is true. And then I kind of got lost interest when I saw that element there. I was like, no, I think I'm going to put that down and maybe move on.
Okay, right, yeah.
So anyway, I wondered, how, you know, things aren't what they seem to be, how did we get so off track, do you think? Do you have any idea how we got off track?
I guess I'm not sure if we were ever really on track. Just there used to be, you know, there were ancient philosophers and people who, you know, mystics who had ideas about things. But nowadays we have this scientific community, and it seems like things get very entrenched, and they seem to be absolutely sure that they're right. Like the mystics or philosophers, I'm not sure if there was the same degree of certitude, or if they were quite as you know as rigid in their thinking as some of the scientific community is today. We just sort of, I think, have gotten complacent in this idea that we know everything, and in some ways I think maybe we know less than they did way back then because we think we know more. And you know, if you think you know something and it's wrong, that's worse than not knowing. So.
Well, we get really attached to our thoughts, and we maybe it's human nature just to want to feel like we have control. I don't know, maybe.
That's true.
But you talk about matter, and matter is something that we can control. If we look at the world in terms of matter, substance, I could pick this up and put it down. That gives us a feeling of control over it. So
That's a good
I'm
point.
thinking that maybe that might have something to do with it. We can label it. If we can label something, then we feel safe. Okay, that's that's that. You know, it's kind of the basis of a lot of bigotry. You know, it's like we're comfortable with what we understand and what we can see, and that just might be how we're made up, I guess.
Right.
But so maybe that's just something we learn when we take form in this dream.
Yeah. Well, way back there were the ancient Greek philosophers, the Atomists, and they kept trying to figure out what things are made of, and one of the guys thought everything was made of fire. They were really into the elements: fire, air, water, and earth. One of the guys thought that water was the basic thing things were made of. And I think in ancient India, they might have had similar ideas about things, but there was this underlying idea that things are actually made of something, and we sort of have that same idea, and I'm just not sure that that's actually true. Like in a dream, things aren't actually made of anything. We have a dream, but when you wake up, the dream is nowhere. It doesn't have any physical existence, and I guess I would suggest that that's the way our reality is too. I mean, we might be able to, our scientists might find things, substances that this table is made of, but those substances are no more real than if you had a dream where you were analyzing the table and then you woke up and there's no table, there's no substances. So I guess I would suggest that that's the way our world is too. There's no actual substance.
Yeah, it seems like in science, there's a tendency to be able to prove anything that you want to prove. You can justify just about anything. You can figure out, well, they got the double blind, that kind of experiments that help, but it's still, let me ask you, go a different direction here. How about, what do you think about the idea, like the New Age belief that we control, we create our own reality. We engineer it.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of disillusioned with that. When I was in college, I got really into New Age ideas. I had friends who were into that too. And I guess you realize very quickly in life that how little control you actually have over things. Like you get at least it's been my experience, if you feel like you can control things with your thoughts, you very quickly realize that you actually can't control things with your thoughts. Like if you set yourself up to, for some incredible thing that's going to happen to you by controlling it with your thoughts, you very quickly realize that doesn't actually materialize. So
and you still got to pay taxes.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Yeah. So I guess in dreams too. Some people get into, I guess, lucid dreaming, or ideas that you can control your dreams, and come out victorious. Like if a lion's chasing you, you turn around and chase the lion. Or I think there are things that you can do to gain control of yourself in the dream. But I guess someone I know who tried that, he found that I think it was someone I heard of, that he wasn't actually getting restful sleep when he did that. Like he was so actively participating in his dreams that that he wasn't getting a good night's sleep. So, I think that's actually not So I guess he and I guess I came to the conclusion that it's not actually the way dreams are supposed to work. That's not actually a healthy way to do things. So.
That's really interesting. If you exert yourself in your dream, then that doesn't help you.
Right.
Doesn't help your brain recuperate like what it's supposed to do. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, there's some degree of control you can have over your life, but then also your life controls you. So I think there's a limit to how much control you can have by saying, I'm master of my destiny. And well, maybe that's also some of the Taoist ideas I've been incorporating. The Taoist ideas are more like go with the flow and if your life is going in one direction, don't try to resist it and go in a different direction. That things will go better if you go along and
gently down the stream.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's I don't know if we ever talked about this before, but you dedicated your book to Rebecca.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yeah.
Rebecca Mullin.
Did you know her?
I did know her.
You
we
did?
were good
Oh,
friends.
okay.
Long time ago, we shared a an analyst in common. We both went to
Okay.
the same Jungian analyst. And I always meant to get over to her dream. She had some dream workshops, and I'm so sad that I never did that before she.
Yeah, me too. Like
left.
at the time, for those of you who don't know her, she was, at least when I knew her, she was a very elderly woman. I think she was in her 80s, but she was still, she'd go for walks with her walker. She was a really indomitable spirit, but she was a dream analyst. And yeah, she offered to analyze my dreams, and I never took her up on it. I think I felt a little bit, my dreams are personal. I don't want to be talking to. But now, with my new interest in this, I really wish I had taken her up on it. But the reason I dedicated this book to her, apart from that she was an incredible woman, was she made this observation that life is like a dream, or it's no different from a dream. Like we were talking about dreams, how you can analyze a dream, and I don't know exactly what style of dream analysis she used, but she said that it's the same with life. You can analyze life that way. It's the same thing. And at the time I thought that's just so much New Age gobbledygook, that didn't make sense to me. But, if life is just a dream, then it makes perfect sense. You can analyze a dream and analyze your life.
Yeah, well, I really like the fact that she wasn't afraid to go to those kind of dark places. She wasn't afraid to look at things like the Holocaust and things, bad things that happen. And for some reason we dream of, or that's part of our reality. Don't know. So let's talk about the subconscious.
Right.
The subconscious, is that another name for God?
Yeah, I guess I think it is God, but not necessarily in the way that everyone thinks of God as having certain attributes of justice and love. And this is one particular aspect of how God works to create things. Other things like, morality or what's the meaning of life, that would be a different part of God that I'm not prepared to talk about. But I guess I've come to think of the subconscious as the creative agent in the universe that is creating our universe, and at the same time creating it and experiencing it. I guess I see the subconscious, this idea of God as an agent that sort of creates and experiences everything at the same time. It's like, if you think of your dreams, you're dreaming it, you're creating the dream, but you're also experiencing the dream. Like you can have a dream about a monster, and you're also experiencing the dream about a monster. And I guess my idea is that it's not just you that's dreaming it, it's your subconscious, but that your subconscious is actually linked to everyone else's subconscious, and that subconscious is the universal subconscious, which is actually God.
That makes sense with a kind of the New Age meme of we are all one.
Okay.
So
Right, yeah.
It's kind of like, it makes sense why that would, if that was true, that would be something that was true.
And I don't know, again, this is sort of an idea I'm developing. I don't know exactly how it would work. I don't have a very clear idea of how all the subconscious minds are connected, but it seems to me that they are.
Well, we certainly have a lot of people that have written about it in different ways.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways that the idea that there's no matter in, that what we see isn't really, we're just imagining. Well, it's not that we're imagining it, but it's just, we get so attached to our senses.
Right.
That's just part of this experience. So do we have any input? Well, yeah, we do. We have input. We're all part of this big dream.
Right.
And we make choices. So there is free will.
Right.
Got to have free will. And it's just a really interesting idea. The way that you have written about it makes it really clear to understand.
Okay.
And it's not something that's readily apparent. And you have a lot of different links in the back about that you think are really cool ideas. I think that's.
Yeah, some of them
I
are
was
like
able to look at some of
horror
those.
movies or
Yeah.
science fiction movies or things, and then some of them are like, you know, Carl Jung. And it's not like I'm an expert on all the sources that are in the back, you know, I'm not an expert on Sigmund Freud or anything, but you can't really write a book about dreams and not reference Sigmund Freud, so I mean, that's the, you know, even though
Yeah.
since then a lot of his ideas have, I guess, come into disrepute, but I'm still, you know, I have to give him credit for taking dreams seriously and trying to explore, well, what does this mean? And even if you don't have to agree with the ideas he came up with, but just give him credit for at least looking into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I give you credit for looking into this.
Oh, one more, yeah, I guess a lot of people would say, well, no, it's the brain that creates dreams, you know, it's the brain that perceives this and that. And I would say that, no, it can't be the brain that's creating us or creating our reality, because in our dreams, we have brains, and the characters in our dreams have brains. And so, well, what created those brains? It must be the subconscious that's dreaming about it. You know, so if that's how brains are created, the brains of the characters in our dreams are created by the subconscious, then our brains are created that way too. I mean, it's possible that the brain has the way that things work is that the brain, you know, is I think somewhere I read that someone thought that the brain is a receiver of consciousness or something, so the brain could be a receiver, but I don't think the brain is what creates things or creates dreams.
We'd like to think so sometimes.
Right, yeah.
So makes us feel good, makes us feel like we have an impact. Do you think we have much of an impact on anything?
Well, I think we have to live as if we do. We try within our limited circumstances to impact things, and I think you know, you try to do good and try to achieve things, like you know, the fact that, you know, as I see it, life is just a dream. That shouldn't make you think, oh, nothing matters, I can just do whatever I want. Like, even if you're having a dream, you know, if you can say, oh, I'm just going to do whatever I want, it wouldn't work out too well. Like, I mean, still, even in a dream, you have consequences for your actions, you know, or if you care about people, the people in your dream would be hurt, or, you know, their feelings would be hurt, or their, you know, so there would be bad consequences for taking actions like that. So I think it's the same with reality. You know, saying it's just a dream doesn't mean that there's no real reason for anything. It just means that it's not a physical reason. There's no physical reality, but there is I think morality works whether something has physical reality or not. Like, you know, you could tell a story, a completely fictional story, and it could still have good guys and bad guys, and so there would still be morality, even if things, you know, even without any kind of physical reality, there's still a moral reality, I think.
A moral reality.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Well, that might be why we've dreamed up all these religions.
Right.
Because it certainly give us an anchor, something to anchor toward, you know, rather than just going off and creating all kinds of things into oblivion with no purpose. So really, if you have, if this is true, then it's comforting when we think of people dying because they're not really dead, because they're still in our brains. They're just as real. I mean, I've had people, I've dreamed of my dad, and it feels like he's just right there. So the loss is lessened because you feel like, well, there he is. He's not gone at all. I just dreamed about him, you know?
Yeah, that's one thing I think, like one of the real thing, you know, what's real and what's not real. I think that love is real. Like, you can have a dream about someone you love, and that, you know, the love comes through the dream into different realities, and you know, I think love is real, even if there's no physical reality.
Yeah, your book is very big on love. I like that. And then love transcends, from what I understand, love transcends linear reality, the, 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 dualistic world. Everything having its opposite. Love transcends that.
And one thing that I think you just said that you know, your loved ones can appear to you in your dream, and that I think is one of the proofs that life and dreams are the same thing, because when you dream about someone, you know it's them. Like you can tell that they're real. It's not like some simulation of them. It's not some computerized image of them, or you know, it's not a pale imitation. You can tell it's actually them, and they, you know, they say things or do things that maybe they never did in reality, but it's still them. And so I think that you can that they're that real in the dream. They're no less real than they are in real life. So.
Yeah, that's comforting. I like this quote here. You say, "The love may be the only thing that is real."
Yeah.
And then at the very last sentence of the whole book is "Enjoy the dream," but before that, "Love is all there is."
Okay.
Wasn't that was a Beatles song, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
like that.
I think that's a.
I mean, I'm not trying to start a, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, if you're cultish or anything. Hopefully, it's you know,
Oh,
that's
no.
not the idea.
No, not at all.
Of starting some new age.
No, heavens no. No, you're
Right,
you're putting out there what's been put out before, but in
Right,
a
yeah.
very palatable way, and giving a lot of people access to it that might not other. Is it at the public library? Can people get this book there?
Not yet. I'm trying to get it in there. I'm not sure if it'll be able to be, but you know, you can. There's a Facebook page that has more information.
Oh,
on
good.
It, so.
Good. Okay. Well, it looks like it's time to wrap up. So I want to
Thank you so much, Anna.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank the audience for joining us. And good night.